Hi, everybody. Welcome to the KC CHIROPulse podcast, brought to you by CATS Consultants, helping doctors keep their pulse on success. I'm Dr. Michael Perusich, and I'm joined today by my good friend, Dr. Patrick Hammond. Dr. Hammond, how the heck are you?
Doing great, man. How are you?
Fantastic. Fantastic. What's the weather like up there?
Oh, you don't want to know.
Oh, uh-oh. Do I need to send a little
cloudy.
sunshine your way?
Yeah, just cool and rainy like it has been all spring.
Geez. Yeah, well, it does that sometimes up there. So, hey, whenever I'm in town, I always pop in and we visit and get an adjustment and usually hang out for a bit. One thing I've always noticed and appreciated about your practice is it seems like every time I come in there, and, we've been doing this for years. Every time I come in there, you've always got the same bright, smiling faces, and they're super engaged and always fun to be around. Your staff is just always on point. How do you do it? Because, I hear from a lot of doctors today, I can't keep staff, or that my staff is just always down, and yours is not.
Yeah, I think some of that reflects on the doctor themselves, right? The energy they bring to the clinic can be a huge component of that. Other things that tie into that is you just take care of and you respect your staff. They're working hard for our patients, and we need to respect that and really, pay them what they're doing, give them the little benefits that they deserve.
That's a really good point. We talk about trying to retain patients in the practice, but we need to work at retaining staff, especially if they're good.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to think too, gosh, how much does turnover cost you?
Oh, well, and we all know it's the frustration of the turnover. You're trying to build your practice and keep patients going, and then you got to take 5 steps back to get somebody else hired. It's just such a huge obstacle in the success of a clinic. So I really, when I get great staff, I bend over backwards to make sure they're happy, make sure on a consistent basis they're getting what they need and what they want to make themselves happy, because that's a self-reflection of the practice.
Well, and your practice shows the outcome of that too. I know your return on investment in your staff is big, and your practice has done so well in large part because of that. So let's just talk about some of the things that you do. What do you do to retain great staff?
Well, I think a lot of that comes down to the hiring process. Make sure it's the right person in the right position. You don't put a real analytical person in a collection seat where they have to talk a lot. You got to hire correctly for the position that you need. And if you can put them in a successful position where it's just easy on them, their personality just comes out so naturally.
Sure.
So much easier, and the patients see that.
Sure.
You have to, I know different areas across the United States and around the world, pay scales are a huge component, and you have to pay. I try to pay a little bit more than everybody else. I also make sure that there's a benefit package with that, a full health, vision, dental, life insurance. We're now looking into long-term health care to offer to our staff. So we really look at ways to make sure not only they're happy at work, but they can be happy away from work, and they can enjoy it and take the stresses off of them from everyday life.
Well, and those benefits speak highly back to them from you.
Yeah.
And because basically what you're telling them is, I appreciate you so much. I want to help take care of you and offer you extra benefits to show my appreciation. I did the same thing in practice. We had a big simple IRA program and all kinds of other benefits. We had a huge vacation policy, which they loved. And, and I see a lot of, I don't mean to pick on doctors, but I see a lot of doctors try to go cheap.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of like buying a car. You get what you pay for.
That's
sometimes.
right. Yeah. And I really think it comes down to the appreciation. And I've been probably guilty in my career of not really appreciating some of my staff early on like I should have. And I learned from that. And now the staff I have, I really do try to make sure on a consistent basis, hey, is there anything you need? How can I help you? Everything going good? You continually keep that open communication with them. Hey, are we in a position where we need to hire somebody? I ask them directly. And if they say yes, okay, let's start the process. Let's try to find somebody. The other component of that is, especially when you're hiring the next person or the third or fourth or fifth person, you got to make sure that it fits in the dynamic with the rest of the staff.
That is so
these 4
true.
people are doing great. They're happy. you can bring in one that can really put a cog into that wheel. So you got to make sure you hire correctly.
Yeah, that is so true. You know, the interview process in my clinic was really started off with staff. I would have staff interview somebody because they got to work with that person way more than I do. I mean, obviously I have to like the person and, you know, we have to get along, but they worked with them a whole much more than I would. And so I wouldn't come in until the second interview.
Yeah.
My staff had to like them first.
Yeah. I do it I do the first interview. They do the second interview. Then the third one, we do one all together.
Yeah. And I just think that's so important, you know, and that also gives them ownership of their team as well. Yeah. So that keeps them engaged and, oh, I've got a say in this. And I have a say so in who we hire and bring on the team. And so when you do bring somebody on, then they're much more likely to make that person work out.
I fully agree with that. You know, and they've already had that introduction. They've already talked to them. So both sides already know each other when they start. And they kind of, from my perspective, what I need from them is totally different from what they need from them up front at the front desk.
Sure.
The combination of all that can really make a big difference in the success of the overall clinic.
Yeah. And I think that process also helps that new person ramp up to full speed a lot more quickly.
Yeah. And you know this, and most other doctors and staff know this that are listening. Patients like seeing the same faces when they come in.
They do.
You know, they get to know your staff members like they get to know you. And so they get to know their lives. We get to know the patients' lives. It just makes such an easier transition. And I think it really helps the retention of the patients through their treatment plans.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, you've had huge success with staff retention and staff engagement and so forth. And I know so many doctors out there right now are struggling, and I get it. It's a tough employment market. It's different right now. You know, inflation's kind of driven up the cost of employees a little bit and so forth. And, you know, I think you would agree with this statement. You have to keep pace with that kind of stuff. And, you know, cost of employees has gone up, but doesn't mean you can get employees for what they might have made back in 2005. You got to keep pace with it.
That's right. You know, and usually that unfortunately comes out of the doctor's pocket, bottom line. You know, you gotta cut the corner somewhere. A lot of times that comes from us, but if you're really in for it for the noble purpose and taking care of those patients and creating that environment that you want, it's worth the sacrifices we have to make, because the dividends you're going to get on return are far going to outweigh what little corners you got to cut right now.
Yeah. And I've always found that the practice will grow, and whatever you had to take out of your pocket that might have been a little extra to get somebody good, really financially was well worth it.
Oh, I mean, and there again, we've seen it. You know, if that staff member's happy and they're working as a unit, you know, I mean, it's a Super Bowl team. You know, you're going to get more patients. Your practice is going to grow. It's going to just benefit you and the patients.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think this is just such a viable topic right now. Again, a lot of doctors out there struggling, trying to hire people or keep staff, more importantly. So, you know, take heed of some of this that, you know, Dr. Hammond's had success with. I think he's got some great points. Yeah. Anything else to add, Patrick?
I think just, you know, respect them and take care of them. You know, that's what we're here for. It's the same as our patients.
Amen. I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for joining me on the podcast today. It's been a while since we've done one together. It was fun.
All right. Thank you.
All right, everybody. On behalf of CATS Consultants, I appreciate all of you tuning in and listening today. I'm Dr. Michael Perusich, joined by Dr. Patrick Hammond, and helping doctors keep their pulse on success. If you need anything, practice evaluation, you want to just talk about your practice, you can go to the website, catsconsultants.com, click on the top right corner, and you'll go right to my schedule. And I'd love to hear from you. Let us know what's going on. If you want to submit a question or an idea for a podcast, you can submit it to Troy at catsconsultants.com. Dr. Troy keeps track of all those. And please let us know. Stay plugged in. So we appreciate you listening, and I hope you tune in next time. We'll see you then.